Blackson in the hizzle, all for shizzle dizzle. We got an excellent show here today. As y'all know, Nature Mom comes in every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So I don't know what time y'all have according to y'all time zones, but y'all know 11 o'clock a.m. is the time that she comes on to the arena uncensored. So, where do I start, y'all? So I read an article on the NAACP. They said they rejected reparations. So what was proposed? Hold on, y'all. Let me, as Nature Mom gets set up here. As y'all know, basically what happened is that there was a proposal, and hey, GTO, Nature Mom's avatar. Yeah, she's setting up. GTO, she's still setting up. Peace. Oh man, the lovely, and beautiful GTO. Lovely, beautiful, representing B-more, representing that Baltimore. Yeah, so, oh man. Okay, so we got Nature. It's kind of bright. Ooh. It's a little bright, but you know, we can tone it down just a little bit. Let me. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Okay, that's better. All right. Okay. What's going on, Nature Mom? What's going on?
How you doing? Okay. We have a new setup today, so we're testing out something new here.
AI.
You know, yeah. Advancement. It's happening.
Right.
It's just we haven't figured out just yet how to like engage with you guys in the conversation.
We
and
want
not
to
have
set up
stare at
as
the
we
camera.
do it, not you, Nature Mom. We want to set up the lighting and camera. We're going to, according to our programming, our self-programming AI. Right.
There we go.
Right,
now I'm in the screen here.
Okay.
So exactly, yeah, AI is after me. So
we're taking over here, Nature Mom.
Yeah.
This is our show. We got this, right? So yeah.
Yes.
We will do the lighting for you. Right. So,
absolutely.
Oh man. So on a serious note, Nature Mom, yeah, the NAACP.
Yeah.
There was actually a proposal for reparations. So they're actually making this a serious talk, and who puts the neck on black people's neck, foot on black people's neck? The NAACP. They were offering $5 million. In fact, MD's right on time. Let me drop the link for MD because he's our our house reparationist.
Love it.
Okay, so did you? Yeah, I'm just a little.
I am aware of the proposal, and actually, it was just a preliminary proposal, which is very interesting. It was, let's say, legislation's way of trying to put several options on the table.
Okay.
And for some reason, even in such a early preliminary stage, the president of the NAACP decided to completely not only oppose this option, but to really make it seem as if it's a outlandish, absolutely out of question option for Black Americans, and them being able to let's say, have a negotiation with the system that has forced them into labor and then worked against them for more than 200 years now. So I think that that's a very interesting question. When I became privy of this information, my first question was, well, why would the NAACP so strongly oppose such one of many options?
Right.
So I don't know. I really would like to hear your take on it. I was hoping, I saw MD a moment ago. It just flashed by.
Yeah, MD, he said he's shopping right now, but he said I'm out shopping right now. And he didn't think that you were going to show up this week. Because
Oh,
but that was my fault because I said you were doing finals. So I was saying I don't
oh,
know. So, but
yeah.
you apparently got that done. So so here you are.
Okay.
Right. So MD is shopping right now. So MD, um, hopefully,
When he
yeah,
gets a
yeah,
chance,
when he get a chance. Yeah, yeah. And
yeah,
hopefully, I
we're
think
looking
E
forward to hearing his input on this.
absolutely, absolutely.
Uh,
Hopefully, E Bizzile can join us too. But
Great.
yeah, so my take on the Nature Mom is like, and this goes along with the Democratic Party because I have some records, open secret files. In fact, let me just share something with you real quick. Let me just share
Okay.
the screen so I don't just be talking. I'm gonna back up what I'm saying.
Okay.
Okay, so do you see this open secrets?
Okay.
Or
Uh-huh.
okay, so this is an NAACP, and look who the recipients are. The recipients are the Democrats, obviously the Democrats, and
Mhm. Mhm.
these are the people who are receiving funds from NAACP. And you can look down here. This is just in 2002.
Okay.
We got Warnock. We got basically it look like Azov. These are that all Azov and Warnock are representative of Georgia, and you got Nancy Pelosi. Oh, Nancy Pelosi. I know who she is, right? So um, like I haven't put this together, but this is just some of my research that I was doing. I'm going to do a presentation on this, but let me stop sharing. And so my thing is that you know how I feel about the Democratic Party. I feel like they treat black people like children. And for the NAACP, first of all, who gives them the authority to represent grown people here in America? Like, if there's reparations, it should go to Nature Mom. If there's reparation, it should go to Blackson, MD, GTO. We shouldn't have, why do we have to have a mediator? Are we children?
I mean, well, as we know, a mediator means, management fees. And I think that that's definitely, yes, we do need a spokesperson, but do we really need someone to manage the fees for us? And I think that the biggest question that I have is, um, you know, the first question that was brought to mind was, how did the NAACP become the legislative head of what represents all Black Americans?
Right.
If this is a piece of legislation that's going to go to every American, then under every like democratic system, it should at least face some type of voting system, in order to show equality and justice, and a real, let's say, in the real spirit of the Constitution and what we're supposed to stand for as a country.
Right.
And in this case, I think exactly as you put it, somehow we were parented in this situation. And any time that I think about history and when we've been parented in the past, it brings me back to documentation and conversations from political leaders who considered Black people as children. And
Right.
these are the statements that they made, considering that they need to be whipped into submission.
Wow.
Your speaker is not, yeah, it's not working very well.
Testing. How's that? Testing. Oh shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn it. Damn it. Damn it.
Uh-oh.
Testing. Testing.
Yeah.
Sorry, y'all. My damn. Oh.
Oh, it's better now. Yeah,
Oh.
much better.
Yeah, I got a short, and I just bought these things. Oh my god, I just bought them.
Well,
You gotta be
that's what
kidding.
happens when someone parents us and then they get to choose which products we get to buy.
Right.
Not
Right.
open market, not complete
Right.
access. So,
Wow.
I say this, facetiously and with an air of truth as well. But absolutely, I think that this really steps over some incredible bounds of what America is supposed to stand for. And so it
Mhm.
really sets another precedent in this modern day and age, that the America that still resides in the realm of systemic racism is the true America, and the America that the rest of us live in is they act as our guardians and mediators, even if it's not in our best interest, which it hasn't been up until this point in time. So I had to pull up some information. You know me, I
Okay,
love
no
pulling
problem.
out the.
No problem. No problem. Right. Because I love to get your perspective on this because I'm like, I had to think to myself, am I overreacting? Am I being a little, so, that's why I got Nature Mom to kind of put things in a perspective and, I'm saying, to keep, calm like sundown because, I get a little eccentric when it comes to money.
A little bit.
When it comes to finances, I just get a little excited. I'm just saying,
Oh, not just finances.
right, well, yeah,
You
well,
know.
right.
Hmm.
Well,
So
I get a little extra excited when finances are involved. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
yes, you don't mess with my money.
Yeah.
So so yeah, I did just from some of the history courses, and of course personal history research that I've done in the past. This situation really made me recall some things that I learned about NAACP as an organization. And unfortunately, I learned too many things in the beginning in order to not bring them up in this particular situation.
Okay.
So some of the things I just want to give our audience out there some of the information that I studied, and we talked about it from a historical point of view. We've talked about it from a sociological and a mass psychological point of view.
Yes.
And so I'd really like to bring some of these points up about the NAACP. So I think that what one of the biggest, misunderstandings about the NAACP, which stands for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People.
Mm-hmm.
This civil rights organization was founded in 1909, and so it was actually there were efforts that had begun in the late 1880s, um, trying to really make strong political maneuvers, especially after the Civil War, really trying to establish who was going to take control of the country, because you had the North against the South, the Confederates against the northern regions. And so there was a lot of turmoil happening at that time of who was going to actually get final power over the country as the dust of the Civil War was trying to settle. Because let's say, yes, the North got to declare victory, but it still wasn't very clear who, what policies were
Right.
going to stand the for the mindset, the general mindset of the country yet.
Okay.
And there were a lot of people who sided with ex-slaves and runaways in order to have a manpower
Right.
to defeat their enemy during the Civil War. And so they really had to, let's say, choose sides at that point. They
Right.
really had to make alliances, whether their personal preferences, or their, private and familiar preferences aligned with that or not. And
Right.
so, let's just be clear that there were a lot of people who wanted their political agenda pushed forward, but they didn't necessarily, let's say, would bring the ex-slave home to marry their daughter. So these or to even at this point sit in a room with them. So these things were still happening at that particular time when this was these policies were trying to, settle and be established as the, general ground policies
Hmm.
of the United States, of the federal government. So in 1909, which we've talked about a lot before, this is right in the heart of when the onset of terrorism against Black communities was rampant.
Right.
The economic boom of Black communities really upset a lot of people in the country, especially in the wake of this civil war, because they lost their free labor forces. They
Right.
lost their homes. They didn't feel safe going back to their homes because of the atrocities that they had acted upon these people who are now free Americans. And so a lot of people were very angry about this. And in the what is known as the Red Summer, it began this movement, especially after oh gosh, Birth of a no, not Birth of a
Birth of a
Nation. Am
Nation.
I? Is it Birth of a Nation? Yes.
Birth of a Nation.
The number
Yeah.
one, yes, the number one propaganda and recruitment film for the Ku Klux Klan
Yep, Birth
in
of a Nation.
America.
That's right.
So this is all happening at the same time, and so what's some people were still trying to establish were these national, these federal policies that could be carried out state to state. There wouldn't be this division of, no, well, we feel this way in this state, so we're going to uh, only observe these laws, and we feel this way in these states, so we're going to observe these laws. They wanted more of a unity between the states at that point that was not yet in place. But what did unify the country that we now know as the United States of America was propaganda and, unifying as white people
Right.
against Black economic prosperity, against Black political prosperity, and so you know what was the outset of that was, okay, they're no longer people. We can lynch them, we can punish them, for being too wealthy. We can punish them for looking at us the wrong way. We're going to heinously punish them and let them know that we are still superior over them. So that was really what was taking place at that time in America. And let's say when you look at it on a mass scale, it is today known as Red Summer.
Right.
So you had some leadership in the country, and let's say some children and some grandchildren of abolitionists and of political movers
Okay.
who really wanted to, they were claiming abolition of slavery. There were other, women's suffrage was really on the rise at that point, and they were trying to, pull members together. There was, trying to pull labor unions together in a unified way. And so, where all these groups were segregated in the beginning, the founders of the NAACP really found a way to enroll different groups that could promote their agenda.
Right.
And their agendas at the time, like I said, there were many different groups for women, and they used many different areas, including the abolition of slavery, and the unfair treatment and the brutality and of lynching as a way to unify and become a political force in the world. So let me just be very clear, because I think that a lot of Black people and people in general are misinformed that this is a group that was began for the movement of Black people specifically.
Okay.
And in all actuality, it was one of many groups under an umbrella effort, and I mean, something that stands clear. Let me just count it real quick. One, two, three,
Okay.
four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, like nine basic co-founding members were a all-white group. And this all-white group petitioned for a meeting. And in that meeting, they targeted a prominent leader, natural leader voice in the Black community, W.E. Du Bois,
Hmm.
and who brought in Ida Wells and Mary Church Terrell. And these three figures being already very active and community leaders, so what we would call today influencers,
Okay.
they saw their opportunity to make their organization stronger by saying, well, we are bringing in this organization in behalf of you, so that you can join us as a collective force, so
Right.
that we can make all of our agendas move forward.
Okay.
And so I think that a lot of people aren't aware of that. Some of the things that, I mean, I'm sorry if I keep like just going forward. Interrupt me at any time, but I just think that the background's really important here.
No, 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 no. I mean, you refreshed my memory because yeah, you're right. It did start by white people and Web Du Bois and all that. So my thing is, for the advancement of colored people. Okay, so I'm assuming they're talking about black people as we're called today. So
Yes.
so we're understanding the whole history and all that. So
Yes.
are they relevant enough today to make decisions for grown black people today? Because I mean, when they say they rejected, I'm just thinking about the homeless black people that need that money now. I'm thinking about the black people who need that money now. The single mothers
Okay.
need that money now. People who know what they need to do with that money right now.
Okay.
We're talking
So
about $5 million.
once again, I mean, you know what I always say, history doesn't always repeat itself,
Okay.
but it does rhyme very closely.
Right.
And when we look at the actions of the past,
Hmm.
and what I wanted to bring up is that, here's this call for the advancement of colored people. And the initial group had a meeting of 60 attendants. And out of those 60 attendants, only 7 were Black. And let me be specific what points they wanted to specifically talk to this group about, which of course was the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment of the US Constitution. Yet only 7 of those 60 people who came to this initial meeting were people who were truly of color at that time. And it really made me ask the question, the scientist in me, why only 7 out of 60?
Right.
I mean, that's only, a little over 10% of the members, of the people who showed up to have this conversation, and yet this situation only affected the group as a whole. Let's say the other, nearly 90% of the attendance, it only affected them in second to third degree. It
Right.
did not affect them directly. And we know, from the history of the women's suffrage movement, yes, the women's suffrage movement was fine when there were Black women who were standing behind these white women and really trying to move this forward. And then when they started to get political attention, all of a sudden, all the white women said, but you can't join us anymore. You're no longer allowed to be a part of this group because we need America to accept us. And so, this kind of reminds me a little bit of what I'm seeing, in this, onset of the NAACP. Yes, we are standing for your advancement. Yet, let me just bring up some really important points here. So, uh, NAACP from 1909, when they officially started. So they actually began this effort supposedly in 1889
Right.
to campaign against the lynchings in America and making it illegal. They won this campaign in 1922. Yet, from let's say here we are in 1922, they actually reached their goal for this particular group, but they did not have their first secretary, executive secretary, who was James Weldon Johnson, particularly a light brown man with the light eyes, until almost sorry, I have my dates here. He became the first Black executive secretary in 1920. So it took them nearly 20 years in order to have their first Black leader within their organization, when they are standing for the advancement of Black people. Wouldn't you think that if you're trying to advance us, you would automatically make us one of the leaders, especially when you have powerhouses like W.E. Du Bois, Ida Wells, and Mary Church Terrell, and Archibald Grimke, who is an attorney and from a prominent family of abolitionists. Wouldn't you have had them on your leadership from day one? Or is it that they weren't considered equal?
But even in the whole concept of Black people as a collective, do we need a collective to collect a paycheck? Because I'm thinking, and that's why I want to end on here, because
I think that this is where I feel like there's some gaslighting taking place here.
Okay.
Because first of all, like you said, reparations have been given out before, even from the United States.
Japanese.
Yeah, and they did not need legislation to make very specific guidelines and leadership to walk them through getting those reparations.
Oh, so they were treated like children.
I mean, they were treated as victims of heinous terrorism. And in this case, we are not, in my personal opinion, I don't think that the depth of why reparations are even necessary, why even bring up this conversation. If America did not feel any guilt systemically, this conversation would even come to the table. Germany wouldn't have done it, Belgium wouldn't have done it, if there wasn't some deep brokenness, systemic brokenness, to even have this conversation in the first place. And to, the slap in the face, as I see it, is that you acknowledge your brokenness as a system, and the way that you have, for lack of better words, have violated, raped, pillaged, murdered, and forced people to build your wealth. And yet, you still 200 years later have the nerve to say, but we're going to have your babysitter take care of your finances for you. Let us change your diapers. And I think that is, really, it's just so undermining in every single way as an American. It's so, it's on par of the systemic racism that is still very present. Absolutely. Just trying to masquerade itself as wokeness, trying to masquerade itself as progressive. I mean, just when when I saw that they had gone to a leader of an organization that never truly had the interest of advancing Black people without their guardianship, it just really is appalling in every way to me. So one of the things that I would like to also add to this, just fact sheet of information, was that during the 1950s civil rights era, after Field Secretary Henry T. Moore and Medgar Evans was assassinated, now these at this time there are finally black leaders, high black, you know, field secretaries, as they called them, because they still weren't presidents at this point. They were considered, very important people in the NAACP movement of the 1950s. And it took an outside force, particularly Dr. Martin Luther King, who made a public call for direct action. And he was in complete opposition with other Black Americans in the fact that the NAACP was prioritizing their instead of standing, let's say clearly, and fighting on the side of the advancement of Black people at that time, against the violence, against the Jim Crowism. They were actually making, their priority was to make political moves and to establish themselves, which made them much more docile and submissive to the systemic system that was
Right.
standing against these people of color that they were trying to advance. And that's why Dr. Martin Luther King actually got his rise to leadership, because this organization was completely at a standstill and supporting the systemic system that was oppressing Black people at
Right.
that time. So,
She's saying
here's some.
Martin Luther King basically made them irrelevant with the civil rights movement.
No, he didn't make them irrelevant, but he did call them out on behalf of the community that was
Okay.
already outraged.
Right.
He did stand up against them and made it a point to make it clear that their political agendas were in complete opposition of what advancing colored people really stood for at that time.
Right. Didn't
And
Malcolm X call him out too?
yeah. Oh, there's many leaders at that time. I mean, and let's just be clear, the majority of the Black community at that time was making very clear statements that
Hmm.
they were in opposition of their actions during that time. Now, NAACP did respond by bailing out some of the freedom riders, and there were a few legal representational cases, but there was no like action on the front line. Matter of fact, they didn't really stand up on the front line until 1963. Oh, sorry, it's starting to get a little dark in here. Let me just turn on a bigger light for my eyes,
No problem. No
because
problem. No problem.
the camera light is not enough.
No, actually, no, it looks good on this end. Nature
It
Mom.
does.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's why I was like,
but
yeah,
but
I think the AI.
I'm trying to read my notes here.
Oh, no problem. No, okay, okay, no problem. No problem. Yeah,
you know.
well, visually you look good, but I get
Oh,
it.
great,
I
great,
know that's
great.
fine.
Yeah, yeah,
Let me ask.
yeah.
Okay, so um, those are very good points you made about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King speaking out against him, and you know, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X were taken out, but then it seemed like the NAACP, did they shift back in power after that era?
And specifically in 1963. So the president, Roy Watkins, at that time, did help to organize the March on Washington, which put them back in physical action and a clear, let's say, alignment with actually advancing the Black community against just, like you, I'm gonna coin your phrase here, just word salad.
Right.
So absolutely. But the question that, as I'm like pulling all this information together and really comparing it to the news that I'm seeing today from the US about this situation, another question came to mind. Why is it that it took them from 1909 until 1963 in order to have their first inaugurated Black president of the organization. I mean, once again, if you are standing for the advancement of Black people, shouldn't there be, especially after such a large influx of members,
Right.
shouldn't there have already have been much more prominent, higher level Black leadership, Black positions standing for this? And what that tells me is, in action, that yes, you can march on the front lines, you can be our public, force,
Right.
but you cannot actually stand for our leadership, even for the advancement of Black Americans.
Right. So I'm trying to understand. You had Martin Luther King, you had Malcolm X call them out, but yet they still possess all this power. They're making decisions. And now, like I said, I showed just a little snippet of them lobbying for the Democratic Party, So that money, we already know where that money's going towards, because the Democratic Party are the recipients. My thing is, again, I'm hearing everything you're saying, Nature Mom, because I'm trying to go back to the Japanese of Mansonar and the Jews of Nazi Germany and how they didn't have all this trouble. And I know you're talking about systemic racism. I mean, at the end of the day, how do we get these people out of our way? Like, first of all, if this proposal should be directly to the people. Why do we need
And
to
I
reject
think
$5 million?
I mean, I think that that is absolutely, one of the things that Black Americans have to get back to, because there was a point, especially especially like I said, in the during the civil rights era movements, where Black Americans realized the NAACP was not going to really stand on the front lines with them. And
Right.
so what they did was they organized independently. The problem, as I see it, is that repeatedly, um, we keep getting placated by these infiltrators, if lack of a better word,
Okay.
who gets to stand as our voice, as our representative. and
How?
s- I mean, like I said, history rhymes a lot. And instead of having a mass voice, like,
Well,
when
why
you
do we
just,
even need a
let me
mass
ask you a
voice?
question.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question. So yes, you did have political actors who stood up for the reparations of the
Nature Mom.
Japanese Americans who were put in
Okay.
concentration camps,
Okay.
correct?
Correct. Correct. Yes.
Yet,
Yes.
name, one main leadership of that reparation movement that spoke for the whole group.
Didn't the United States government say, look, we did wrong, we owe these people, and they had a list of names and they dispersed it to the list of names that they had. I don't understand what's so hard about this.
What's so hard about this is that the agenda is to shut this down. The agenda is to not, let's say, not truly um, put action behind the mission of the systemic racism that's still active and in place. I think that that's the issue here, is that people really aren't getting in the media, is that, they're upset at this one particular figure, but this figure, he's a smokescreen, as we've had so many smokescreens in the past. What people should be doing, when the American people, a group of American people, were upset, about their president not being put in place. They went and they stormed it, right? And I'm not suggesting that people do that, but what I'm saying is, that type of clear, what's the right word? That type of clear agenda for true advancement. No, is the money going to fix all of that history of, of terrorism, of abuse, of financial abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, abusing and breaking down family systems, abusing and breaking down economic systems and whole communities, and breaking down educational systems. And no, is that going to repair any of that? No, but it's one step closer to this country having to deal with the dirty past that they keep trying to cover up. Yes, what they did to the Japanese Americans was terrible, but it's only a fraction of what they've done to Black Americans. And for them to admit that degree of, systemic brokenness, what would that do for the system? What does it say about our leadership? What does it say about the children of our leadership who were the parents that owned these slaves, the families that helped them to have this generational wealth that is based on the backs of these slaves? That's going to speak volumes if this goes through. And I think that that's the main agenda. When I keep digging into this situation.
African Americans only make up 13% of the population. What's the big deal?
Why is it only 13% of the population? I mean, how many, as I call them, how many prisoners of war were brought from Africa and all the different countries of brown people that now makes up the Black culture of America?
Right.
How many of those people were brought onto a ship to be forced into slave position, whether they made it or not? Let's look at the numbers. Okay. And why is it that only 13% of us still survived? So, that really speaks volumes. I mean, even, let me be very specific, even some of the members who were at the founding meeting of the 7 Black representatives who were at the founding meetings, for example, Archibald Grimke, he was mixed. He grew up on a plantation. His aunts, who were abolitionists, they actually stood for Angelina Grimke Weld and Sarah Moore Grimke, were actually 2 of the most prominent Southern white abolitionists of their era. So that means that Archibald Grimke, being their nephew, they grew up on a mixed plantation where there were, a lot of mixing of, relations going on there. And yet he still was born into slavery. So this really tells you, on a very deep level, like, who were even the people that represented those 7 Black people at the first NAACP meeting. Yes, they were people born into slavery, but particularly they were still people of privilege, because in his case, he did go to a very prominent Black school. He did have the opportunity to become an attorney, and that's not because he emancipated himself as a slave and fought his way to freedom. It's because his family, the white side of his family, actually made efforts and movements to create some type of equality in their own ecosystem at that time that they just didn't want other people to encroach upon.
Okay, so how do we, because I mean, we got a solid, thorough history description from you. How do we in 2003 say, you don't make that decision? $5 million, those of us that want the $5 million now, because a lot of us don't even have kids, we want ours now, reparations now, because they're talking about, oh, well, Black people, they need to think about long-term and generational. Well, a lot of Black people don't have kids. I know a lot of Black women here on YouTube that don't have kids.
Yes.
They need their reparations now.
Okay, so
What are
So
we
your
trying to
question
do?
is, what do we do to make this actualize today? Is one, we need a very sharp uh, turn in leadership.
Well, but why do we need a leadership?
No, and I'm speaking specifically about the leaders of this country who are playing this narrative. This narrative is being played out. I mean, what leader can you think of would go to one particular group and say, I would like you to represent them. And
Oh,
I mean, that's just like we've already established. That's already letting us know that you're not taking this seriously, and you just needed a public figure to reject this on your behalf, not on ours.
so that was Reagan, the Democratic Party that passed out reparations to the Japanese, correct?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So we don't necessarily need the Democrats for this narrative. What I'm saying
I
is
mean,
that
well,
how
I mean, let's be very frank about this, because there are a very large number of the Republican group who doesn't believe that there's a need for reparation at all.
no, right,
So,
right.
once again, I'm gonna make it very clear. I don't stand for either one of the parties.
Oh
I
no,
think that
that's fine.
they
That's fine.
they all play
I
the
don't think
same political game
I
of
don't think
padding their
neither
own pockets.
they didn't ask whether the Japanese were Democrats or Republicans. They didn't ask the Jews that suffered in Auschwitz were they Democrats or Republicans. In fact, they weren't even
Correct.
citizens of this nation. So how the fuck, excuse me for cursing, this has become an issue? How?
I mean, it just shows you, I mean, from the
Damn.
onset of just this organization. And like I said, I just wanted to bring the facts, because my question is, why did you choose this organization out of all the organizations that are out there to try to represent us as a group? I've
Right.
never stood for NAACP. I know that a lot of, Black celebrities and politicians, use the clout and the longevity of this group to advance their own careers. But not one time within the Black communities that I've lived in did any of the members of those communities feel very strongly that this organization like fought for them, spoke for them, supported them,
Mhm.
in any particular way. So I'm just very curious, the question that I had to ask, and that's why I went back to the history to remind myself, is why did they choose this group? And the bottom line is, if I didn't spell it out clearly enough, I'll just say it very clearly. This group was never meant for the true advancement of Black Americans. This group was put in place to pull all of their political agendas together so they
Uh-huh.
could gain political power within the system that already existed. They only wanted to get into the status quo. And once they got there, history has already shown they were done. Their agenda was done, even against the voice of the community that they were supposed to be standing for.
Obvious.
So it just lets me know that, like, of course, they are the group that was chosen to speak for us, because they are going to not speak for us. There was a point where they did, when it met their agenda was met, and they didn't need us anymore. And at that point, they stopped truly standing for us. Yes, they threw us some crumbs from their table. They bailed out some higher profile freedom riders, and they did bail out Martin Luther King, because it would have been shameful and the downfall, the crumble of this organization at that time, if they did not at least do this. So they didn't do it for, advancing anyone but themselves.
Hmm.
They did it to make sure that they were going to keep the political and legislative position that they had scratched and clawed for to this point. So, of course, America, this systemically racist part of America turned to them to represent us because they absolutely knew from the start that they weren't there to represent us in the first place. They have their token in place, their affirmative action leader. And, without having affirmative action leader, finally, it took them till 1963. So we're talking about 60 years it took them to put their first president in place. And that was only to placate a very angry Black America.
Okay, because I see they're doing a job of distraction very well, Nature Mom. Um, Apparently, so they're saying they have handlers saying,
Oh,
"Oh,
yeah.
you're going to
This is a
choose."
puppet show all the way.
So they,
Absolutely.
um,
I mean, do you feel represented?
of course not. Of
Did
course
did
not.
anyone contact you, send you a letter,
Trying
send
to
you an
do
email?
no. I'm trying to push this NAACP aside and be like, "Come talk to me directly. Come talk to
Oh,
me."
so question. Did any, I mean, I have direct emails getting information from California legislation, when there's going to be elections taking place, when I need to register, so that I can partake in California and US elections, making sure that my, ballot information is in. How come I didn't get one email about who do you choose to represent you in this conversation?
Right.
Because we are considering putting on our legislative slate, giving you specifically, because we are the ones they're targeting. They want to give Black Americans of descendants of slaves this money. So that would be you, that would be me, that would be pretty much, a good percentage of the people who are sitting here listening today. Did anyone, I would like to hear from the audience, has anyone received any email from your representative
I
in
tell
your
you,
district?
I tell you what. I'm gonna do a poll. Anybody in the chat? Did anybody receive anything? Press a one. Press a zero if you received nothing, but press a one if you received anything on Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook. Please press a one, leave a comment, or even join the panel. Let us know if y'all received anything, because I haven't received jack shit. Okay, I'm sorry, Nature Mom. I'm just
I
cussing.
mean, that's a very, I mean, I think that what's interesting is that, in a way, they've really, it was such a low blow of a hit, and one of the ways that they are trying to incite us is through our emotions.
Right.
We are, as human beings, emotional creatures, but knowing that they've scratched, these wounds so deep,
Mm-hmm.
this was just pouring the salt in and squeezing the lemon just to incite us even more. And I'm even wondering if this inciting is to somehow create some type of riot situation again, any mass activity against the system, because how bad does it look that the people that you've been protecting and you held as your glorious people of America over all the rest of us who are also Americans, they went in and they showed their bottom sides and stormed your White House and pooped on the desk, and you've never seen not one of us standing there pooping on somebody's desk. You know? So yeah, does it look good in the lineage of what this country has always tried to uphold in their sights as supremacists? And now, I mean, yes, let's poke you guys. You're the bear, and we're gonna poke you. And I do think that this is a poking of the bear here. There is a effort, in my opinion, to incite emotions and to take away clarity of thinking, take away methodical and let's say effect-based approaches to dealing with, such. I mean, it's heinous. I mean, let's let's be honest.
Criminal.
It's
It's criminal,
heinous.
right? It's criminal too. It's heinous and criminal, right?
I mean, and at what point? I mean, yes, they are a legislative actor, and like a lobbyist, but in what way did they become an actual, congressional or federal representative? And that's what's so dirty about this, in my opinion.
Right. Um. So solutions. What? I mean, everybody's in the chat busy, bro. Basically, you know. And even for the black people who will defend the NAACP, then I would say this is why I don't like the whole, and shout out to MD. He's going to do a debate on should black people, something about a collective. I got to look on the website. Should black people be something about, what I'm basically saying, is should we work as a group collectively to get our economical reparations, or should we work individually? Everybody's not going to agree with. Some people might have pom poms for the NAACP. So I'm like, if you want NAACP to be your mommy and daddy, you can go let them be your mommy and daddy. But for those of us that don't, we want our reparations now. Like, how do we, because again,
How do we balance that?
how do we balance that? Right. Because everybody's not having kids. There's some people here on YouTube, their bloodline ends now. It ends. That for them, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that
Personally, that they don't have no kids. This is it for them. This is it. I personally know people like that. This is it.
and I think that is very poignant, because let's say what has been presented here, what it this option, the 97,000 over a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what the question here is, Black Americans, uh, your ancestors, your lineage has been violated brutally by this country.
Mm-hmm.
You, amongst everyone else in the country, are paying your taxes. And what we're asking for is that we use those tax dollars, instead of bailing out another, criminal bank. We're going to use those dollars to say we're sorry, because we're sorry. Um, the question is, okay, so what we need to do in order to get the money, correct? You just need to send out the form. We need to show some lineage, present some passports and some, birth certificates,
Okay.
and some proof of heritage, and then you write us a check. So what this really became, in this particular situation, is no, America should not give us a check to repair this situation. They should. I think that the argument put out there was that some systemic changes need to take place. And my question is, okay, yeah, absolutely, systemic changes need to take place, but the first step of those systemic changes taking place is hand me my check,
Thank
because
you.
you are first handing me my check so that I can, I can do what I want with these funds. I can put my children through college. I can put myself through college. I can buy a new car. I can buy a house. And I think that one of the other things that stood on this bill,
Basically, you saying $5 million. I got my check. I'm good. I'm
because
home.
let's be clear, not only was it the check, but the other part of this reparation deal was, and we're going to give you property for $1, which means we knew we took something from you. And we are, even though we're going to make you pay even something, we're going to give you back what we've stolen. I mean, sorry, let me be more specific. We're going to sell you back what we've stolen.
Right, right. Okay. Okay.
Okay. So we're saying, whew, you guys are some low down dirty dogs, but here's my dollar and give me my money. Matter of fact, send me my money and then I'll give you $1 of that back. And I'll take the house and I'll take the money, you know? Um, and somehow, I mean, at least it's something more than Black Americans have ever gotten
Wait a minute.
in history.
Are you saying $5 million is better than zero, Nature Mom? Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me, Nature Mom?
I
Come
take
on.
sorries in the form
It's
of
five
cash,
million-
check, or direct deposit.
Is $5 million really better than zero, Nature Mom? Are you just playing with me?
And s-
Are you
and
trolling
yet
me?
somehow we got this like clown standing up there saying, "No, you absolutely not. How dare you say sorry for 5 million?" So and let's be honest, 5 million really in this day and age. I mean, you're not even
But
gonna
again,
have like,
better
I
than
mean, yeah,
zero.
but better than zero.
Because
At
right now
least
it's zero.
it wasn't a clear apology, but we know you sort of feel bad.
And again, we got to consider the people who don't have children. Like their bloodline ends after them.
And let's not
Do we really think
forget,
about that? Do we really
you
think
know,
about that?
yeah, I've thought about it a lot actually. And let's even be more specific. Not only does the bloodline end, but we're going to have this huge, we're already in the flux of this. We're going to have a huge explosion of like higher elderly population
Right.
and not many people to take care of them on every demographic point.
Wow.
So the question is, did you just decide that the people closest to being a part of this atrocity, this atrocious system, um, get to benefit more than those of us who have built this system on our blood, sweat, and tears? Who have lost family, who have lost communities, who have lost lives, economic status, and that's basically exactly what you're saying. Die first. We'll apologize later.
Wow. That's wow. Wow. That's yeah, yeah. Sounds like America doing its old tricks as usual. Wait until they dead and we ain't got to pay them nothing. Pay them zero. Wow. And
If I'm wrong, prove me wrong, America.
right, right.
Systemic America.
Wow. Nature Mom, I'm just so, oh man, this thing got me so drained. This thing got me drained like that. A person would get up there and say, no, no, 5 million. Hello, 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 hello.
Okay, there you go. Yep,
Okay.
you're back.
Yeah, my mic is.
Yeah, we missed a little chunk of what you were saying.
What I'm saying is that it's just amazing how you got one guy saying no, no 5 million, no, no, no. I mean, just the audacity for him to say something like that when we got people starting.
Guess what? He doesn't want his 97,000. I'll take it.
Right, I'll take it too.
Can we split the difference amongst the Americans who do want your apology in cash form?
Absolutely.
I say everyone who says no, hand in your check.
Right, forfeiture. Yeah,
Put it back in the pot.
absolutely.
Now, would I appreciate an apology that actually has some action behind it in cash form? Absolutely. You can pay me, and am I gonna when you try to shame me as if somehow I have some moral obligation, to feel good or bad, whether it's beneath me or it's a a flaw in my character to take your apology in cash form, shame on me. Just sign the check right here.
I love it. I love it, Nature Mom. Boy, I tell you, man. I tell you, damn. Mm-mm-mm. There you have it. Is this a one time that we deal with this topic? That we are we
Oh,
going?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think that they
right,
just opened up a Pandora's box. I'm
yeah,
looking forward to what they're going to say about this in the future. I'm looking forward to, that guy getting, somebody going storming his office and pooping on his desk.
yeah.
And yeah, let's get him out.
I'll be
He
glad to
means
poop on this disc. I'll be glad to poop on it. Eat a bunch of dang greens and eat a bunch of I don't know what else loosens the bowels. I don't know. Uh, 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 I'm just saying, raisin bran, with extra fiber. That was like, I'll be glad to go. Oh gosh, oh gosh, I'll eat all the fiber brand cereals that day.
I, I choose to do nothing that's going to give me a deduction.
Oh, okay. You know
There
what?
might be there might be cleanup costs in that.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. Y'all disregard that. Y'all disregard that. Oh my God, that's right. They'll find a way to say, well, deductions, right? So you're right. Thank you, Nature Mom.
We know that there's always fees at the end, right?
Right. You're right.
You
Damn.
know.
Damn.
So I would just appreciate when America treats us like Americans, full-fledged Americans. When
Absolutely.
we're no longer one third, we're no longer babysats, we're no longer uh, underrepresented, but we can be true Americans that are fully represented by the system, and yes, and who do issue, monetary apologies. Absolutely, you know.
All right, Mom. I want to thank you. Like I said, we're gonna have to visit some men and again until we sign that check. We sign that,
Love it.
and for those of y'all out there, y'all niggers that push back against that, that the NAACP is your parents, not our parents. Make sure Mom and I we know the names of our mommy and daddy. Okay, so I'm just saying.
You can sign over your check.
Right.
Just put Nature Mom.
Blackson,
We'll take it.
E Bizzile,
Uh,
GTO,
I'm sure MD won't turn it down.
MD. No. MD's definitely not turning it down. MD is not turning down. Neither is E Bizzile. Neither is everybody who listens to the Arena family. We want our reparations now. In fact, shout out to Fayla. Fayla wants her check now. You remember Fayla, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. I'm just, this is a lot. This is a lot, Nature Mom.
It's a big topic, and it really, I mean, it's so revealing. And I think that all the people who are running around and being woke, are you woke now? Do you see? We're not in a dream anymore where everybody's so wonderfully equal in the United States. Yes, I mean, those of us, we have to stand with our dignity and know within ourselves our equality and our value and our intelligence, and we have to fight and claw to get the education, academically, financially, emotionally, psychologically, that we deserve. But yeah, hand me a check.
Absolutely.
I won't completely say I accept your apology, because I do think, like every,
Hold on, nature mom.
serial.
They'll look at it as well, technically they'll look for fees. Just no, 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 no. I would say take your 5 million. Like, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
And
Thank
just
you. I'm good.
I'll take my 5 million and my $1 house, and if you want to throw in, 40 acres and a mule too, thank you. You
Right.
know, but or should I say, not thank you, but you're welcome.
Right. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. I love it.
Services rendered.
Dang. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Wow. Yeah, like I said, this won't be the last time, Nature Mom. It's not going to be the last time. Expect to hear more from this. You know, I'm actually late getting this information to the internet, to the Arena family. I actually heard about it, but because there was so much other stuff going on, I said, you know what? Let me make time for this because, um, shout out to MD, man. MD, shout out to Free Spirit. You know, these topics, like I said, they've came around. Shout out to Akasha. Um, Shout out to Roland Mincy, even though she has an opposing opinion. Again, oh man, for those of y'all that have opposing opinions, just sign it up, sign over the check. That's all I gotta say.
Just that part where it says signature, you can write endorse too.
Right. I love it. All right, Nature Mom. Thank you so much, man. Just be prepared. We might have to do a part two on this. I know.
I'm sure there's going to be many parts to this conversation, because
Absolutely.
this conversation has been 200 years in the making.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And shout out to MD. Like I see, he's I know Sunday is his family day, so I know he's gonna have something to say. Of course, agreeing with us, So I'm sure he's gonna want to add to. I'm sure E Bizzle's gonna want to add to, and everybody. So, yeah, let's
I tell you what the NAACP can do in the meanwhile, as we, find more information to tell everyone about. Make a list of everyone who does not want, reparations and feel as you do, and just have them sign it over.
I love that. That's salute. There we go. Salute. That's why I like Nature Mom. She always comes up with these beautiful solutions.
That's what I do.
Very simplistic. Yes. Straight to the point. Just sign the check over. Doesn't sound too difficult where it says endorse to, signature. I love it. Nature Mom. Wow. That's why I got Nature Mom on the show. Always coming up with brilliant solutions. Brilliant solutions. And it only costs, it only took an hour and 12 minutes of our time. I love it. I love it. Dang, Nature Mom. Like I said, unless you have something that comes up next week, I want to possibly, because I know you're still working. I know you're still working on your school, right? With your projects.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ongoing
Okay.
until I complete these thesis, and until I get, a lot of science right now. So it's just a lot of hard work and hard studying, plus all the other projects that, we're building in
Okay.
film, music,
Oh yeah,
and,
yeah, that's right. Of course,
so it's like right now, it's working hard, and sometimes, double time, but I'm always, this audience has stolen my heart, and I do think that we need to keep our facts on the table and our heads on our shoulders, especially when they throw idiotic dodgeballs like this at us.
absolutely.
This is the type of community that is going to, that's going to hopefully have a stronger and much more, let's say, lucid and clear voice in such a topic, because absolutely this just sounds like the most ridiculous outcome and that I've heard of so far. You know, this is just, I mean, like I said, this was a political move, 100%. This came from the inside, 100%. And there was never any true intention to bring it to our front doors, because if there were, we would have gotten it. I You check your emails, I check mine.
So wait, you saying this is a political point by the Democratic Party to do what? Lead us to the Democratic Party? Because this is definitely not it.
I mean, I don't think that this is like, let's say, a move to lead us to the Democratic Party, but I think that this is partially a move where there is a mass accepting of a particular group representing us, and like we've established already. I have not given anyone representation over me. NAACP is a legal organization as well as a legislative organization. I did not ask them to represent me. I have my representatives in California in my district. If I have any issues, and each one of you in your districts also have a representative, write your representatives. Make sure they get a phone call, they get an email, they get a letter sent, certified mail receipt that says, I do not allow NAACP to represent me as an American citizen. Make it clear.
That absolutely. I like that idea. Another solution. Another solution. All right, Nation Mom, we're gonna close it out. Oh, it was oh man, always a pleasure having you here.
No, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Right. But like I said, I don't think this conversation's over with.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think it's over. Like I said, it was 200 years of the making. And so I'm sure there's going to be pushback from the NAACP and its cohorts and Democratic parties and recipients and donors and lobbyists. So
corruption.
Right.
And yeah, we know it's there. So no, I'm not asking for your representation. And let me make that very clear.
Bet. All right, y'all. Next Saturday, 11 a.m. our time. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. With that being said, y'all, we will see. Nature Mom will see y'all next week, and we out. Peace.